Hey guys, what's up? It's been a little while since I last uploaded, but I am back at least for the time being. And I wanted to create a little bit of a video talking about my past in content creation, what I have done as far as I believe 8 years ago at this point, and what I plan to do in the future, but mostly reflecting on the past. Um, so I'm going to be talking about these topics, just jotting through them, nothing super long, and then talking about what I'm doing in the future, streaming, YouTube, anything of that sort, and what I'd like to do. So let's go ahead and jump into the first one. So, in the very early stages of my content creation, I really sucked at it and I had no idea what I was doing in the slightest. I started my first YouTube channel on September 13th of 2014, so when I was just 11 years old, about to turn 12. And I had been recording stuff beforehand, but I hadn't actually been posting it because I had no idea how to. I was just a wee little lad at the time. And so I had this Kodak camera and I strapped it on top of a tripod that I could screw it onto, and I had it sitting over top my keyboard so I could record everything I was doing. Of course, now I use stuff like OBS, which allows me to simply record my screen, but I had no idea what that was at the time, so I literally used a recorder, and it made it awful. It was disgusting. So I did that, and then I tried using those files for YouTube. It never worked. I was very disappointed because I was like, look at this. Do you see this? It's beautiful. And it kept failing over and over again. I didn't understand. So I had to look into it a little bit more. And that's when I looked more into YouTube because I didn't know anything else. So YouTube was my home. Now, after taking that Kodak camera and creating, quite honestly, the perfect content, I needed to actually take it to YouTube and upload it. And as I mentioned before, it never really worked because Kodak, the way they, I guess it's the way they encoded their files, did not function with normal file formats. It wasn't an MP4, it wasn't anything common, it was a specific Kodak video file. So YouTube wouldn't accept it, especially back years ago when YouTube was still building up and wasn't very compatible with anything. It only selected 2 or 3 file formats to take, so it wouldn't work. So I had to go on Google, search forever, find a file like reformatter. Finally got it through, lowered the quality of the video further, and then I could finally upload it. And from there, things just got harder. It got worse because, once again, as a lack of knowledge, I didn't have any idea on how to edit videos or what softwares were good for editing videos. YouTube had a video editor, and now it's discontinued because it was so useless. But I had to try and use it because I had no idea what I was thinking. I just thought I could upload a video and YouTube would make it all pretty for me. I didn't think I actually had to do anything. So I threw my video in there, didn't understand anything because I had to make a good video, which was something I had no experience in with a software I had no experience with. So for a bit, I just dropped the whole idea of YouTube and gave up on content creation as a whole. So after a few years of sitting idly after that first failure, like I'd still watch YouTube and stuff, but eventually I stumbled across a platform called Twitch. And Twitch is fairly known nowadays, but for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a streaming platform. And especially back in 2016 when I created my profile, it was really, really heavily geared towards people who played games. So you would be able to play a game and stream it to everyone and anyone. So seeing this, I got excited again. I saw an opportunity to create content, but now without the editing, without that struggle that first slapped me, and I saw an opportunity for me to do something that I would be good at. So, once again, just like with YouTube, I needed a way to actually capture my screen. Obviously, there's no way, well, there would be a way, but there's no logical way to record or stream yourself from a tripod Kodak camera. That'd be awful. So I did a handful of searching, I did a handful of asking around, and I found a software called OBS, which is Open Broadcaster Software. And it functioned as a really basic streaming software, and it's something I use to this day because it's really useful and it's really simple to understand. And so through that, I figured out how to get my game captured. I figured out how to get the audio working through it, and I added a few more things like if I wanted to play like music through Spotify, I figured out how to put that on there. And I figured out how to put an overlay on, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the stuff you see on like a football game at the bottom that'll show the scores and the teams. So I got that up there to display like my followers and subscribers and recent donations and all that stuff. And while I did that, I started to get really, really happy about how I was working. So over the next handful of years, I had an on and off relationship with the live streaming. With going to school and trying to work a job on top of it, it got really, really difficult to throw streaming on top of that pile because obviously working a job is going to pay more than streaming and I need to go to school. So if I did want to live stream professionally, I essentially would have had to have replaced the job or replaced school, both of which aren't really a feasible option to replace. So it became really difficult to put forth the time to stream without like horribly overexhausting myself. And because of that, with not having a consistent stream, I didn't have a consistent audience. So it just kind of all snowballed down from there and created a horrible situation. But when I did have the consistent stream, it was the summer before my senior year. I ended up buffing out enough time. So I was just working a job at the time because it's summer, no school. I had the time on top of it to stream. And with that time, I managed to build up a fair audience of like 12 to 14 people. I made some money while doing it, got donations, tips, some people bought merchandise. And I really started to find my happiness there because I made other people happy by making them laugh, making them impressed with my skill in gaming. And through that, I got happy. So after that summer, with my senior year actually coming into life and having AP classes, I had to stop streaming because once again, school was coming forward. I still had my job. I wouldn't be able to balance it all, so I had to stop. I really wish I hadn't. I mean, I dabbled some more in it, very rough streams, experiencing streaming inconsistently, matching with inconsistent audience, and just struggling to keep that community. So I've just fully stopped, but I want to bring it back. I plan on starting up streaming again. I don't know about YouTube because, once again, editing is very hard. It's very time consuming. But I do want to bring back streaming at least somewhat occasionally so I can start to build that audience back up and find my happiness again. So, yeah, I will see you guys soon.